I'm chatting to Graham Sinclair. He is the founder for SinCo, and it is an innovative investment platform for Africa. We're going to also talk about some non-profit activity that is involved in on the continent as well. Welcome. It's really been an interesting Congress, and I hope that you've gotten a lot of value out of it.
Yeah, you know, I'm a big fan of, I wanted to been speaking with the Thomson Reuters and Trading Africa team about helping shape some of the new ideas. I really like the use of Reuters News and photographs. We had that event yesterday.
Yes.
And it relates directly to the work I do because it's all about what is newsworthy, and particularly looking at issues around environmental, social, and governance factors and how those factor into an investment process. So
and a picture speaks 1,000 words. I mean, we all know that.
It does. Some of them were pretty hard yesterday, though.
But it's reality, right?
It is. It is. I wouldn't mind the odd, happy, smiling soccer photograph.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, we're in a whole new era where things are much more transparent. More people have smartphones. We have drones. So the era where a government, a company, a private citizen could dump or pollute or do something not great for a community, I think those are going away fast, and good riddance.
What do you think in terms of, I mean, with the event obviously now of social media being so active, you're literally getting, if you've got a great following that you know, if you're on Twitter and you've got a lot of people that you follow, you're on top of the news before it even becomes public.
Sure.
So those kind of news formats, in terms of creating that sentiment, you know, do you feel that that's negative, or do you feel that because of the popularity of it, it quickly negates any of the, you know, the integrity issues around it? So if people have seen something and have been there, and somebody publishes it in an incorrect manner, you quickly get response
feedback,
that says it's not integrous data.
Yeah. No, I mean, two quick points I'd make. Back in 2005, when I was working in Boston for one of the leading research shops in ESG, we got information from India when Coca-Cola and Pepsi were having the water-related troubles in Kerala State. We got that information before Coca-Cola or PepsiCo got it.
Sure.
And that's because of the network we had as a research shop, a footprint to understand what are the issues on the ground. Also, we were trusted by the local communities and the NGOs, and they wanted to get their story out, so it's mutually beneficial. I think you know, I'm a big proponent of transparency, and I like to talk about hyper-transparency. My encouragement when I'm working with investment houses and pension funds and private equity funds is everything is external. Maybe you can manage when it goes external. It's going to go external. It's
interesting that you say that, because I was having a chat to Ken or Lisa earlier, and we were talking about, you know, where the data starts. So where do you know, there is a bit of a grey line in terms of what is public data, what is the public allowed to see, and what are they allowed to know, and then protecting my own, you know, competitive information that actually belongs to me. So where do we draw that line, especially in an environment where access to information is out there? And you're talking about the hyper information space. So the question I'm asking you is, if there's no filter, how do I ensure that what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing is in fact correct?
Well, you don't, right? Okay. So there's going to be a range, and you know, and that's part of why data is different to information, which is different to analysis, which is different to an execution of an investment strategy or idea. So you need to understand what are you working with, and in Africa, we know just having the data point is the competitive advantage versus, say, in the US, Asia, Europe. You know, it's more about the analysis and cherry picking the right data points. So I think very important that we get more data points out there that basically fundamentally underpins an approach to environment, social, and governance factors integrating into investment management. Is we want more information, not just the neat little cash flow numbers and balance sheet and income statement, but we want to know, you know, how employees are being treated, what their environmental footprint looks like, you know, what are the relationships between the board and the various committees, for example.
Well, so I'm going to touch on two things, and I think, you know, in Africa everybody's got a mobile. If not, they've got two. So there is access to that information. It's not going to be hard data particularly. So that's the difference in terms of developed world and the frontier markets. However, from your perspective, when you're talking to investors that are looking into Africa, you're an African. So talk to me about what you say to them in terms of opening their eyes to the opportunities here.
Well, I think we touched on it. It's about data. I mean, fundamentally, you either need to be based here or be spending substantial amounts of time to fully understand the nuances, and then frankly how to manage calls when you keep losing power, or you know, how you have different accents to deal with people who are not English first language, for example. So you know, there's a great opportunity. I would say from a recent experience in New York, Boston, is there's a lot of people who will take your meeting because they're very interested in Africa as frontiers markets, but they're very slow to reach for the checkbook when it comes to kind of allocating capital.
So how do we fill that gap?
Yeah, we've got to keep doing what we're doing. I'm a big fan of what Thomson Reuters and other organizations, MSCI, Bloomberg, that have got a global footprint that are plugged into the investment ecosystem. I'm a big fan of when they show up in Africa and help get the words out there. We also, for example, in the private equity space, we need to see some exits. We need to see some real numbers that drive returns. And then I'd also tag on kind of the regulations that help shape the investment industry in Africa, from pension funds on down. So for example, in a couple of weeks, I'll be in Abuja, Nigeria, talking with PenCom there about how we can develop regulations around green infrastructure. So understanding that pension funds help underpin and grow Africa's economies, but making sure where you have those regulations, for example, like we have in South Africa with Regulation 28 since 2011, that they include proactively environment, social and governance factors.
So thank you very much, and I think it's very encouraging that you're sitting in Boston, you're talking to people in the US. There is that appetite, and I think that just to conclude, it's encouraging to see the big data houses and people that want to share intelligent information actually putting down bricks and mortar, having locals that understand that market and speaking that in a data language, so that when you're talking to an investor who only understands data, we're speaking a language that we all understand, and there's a regulatory format that he can play the game with us with the same rules of engagement. So thank you very much. Keep up the good work, and certainly go out there and punt Africa.